I'd like to call the City of LaPorte Board of Public Works and Safety meeting Tuesday, October 6th to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Member Jessica Romine, lead us, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we move forward, I'll be taking down my mask. I am 6 feet away from everybody. This is a Zoom meeting overall. I'm the only one here. I would also like to state, and I do have sneeze guards here, we did have a positive test at Transport yesterday, and we've shut down Transport until test results come back. As of right now, those employees that have been tested, including myself, have had results that test negative, and we will take it slow. But it is a reminder to all department heads and to the public that you must continue to mask, to 6-foot distance, clean your areas, your work areas, your home areas, and do what's necessary to keep our community safe. So are there any questions regarding that before we move forward? Our goal is to have Transport, some service, limited service as soon as today. We have one driver and one dispatcher that were not really close in the office or were gone last week. So we will move slowly, but we should have an update as of tomorrow further. So with that, I will move to approval of minutes. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Do we have any public comment via Facebook? Mr. Otis?
Nope, I will monitor throughout the meeting though and report back.
Great. Clerk Treasurer Parthun, claims approval.
Okay, we have City of LaPorte payroll for October 2nd, 2020 in the amount of $410,396.18.
I'll make a motion, we approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
We have a accounts payable voucher in the amount of $1,926.88 for third quarter payroll.
Make a motion, we approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Next is Civil City in the amount of $280,725.23. And you'll notice quite a bit of, I said several NSF corrections. They were previously not processed correctly in utility billing, so these are corrections.
Do I have a motion?
I move we approve the Civil City claims.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Quick question, Ms. Porte. So I noticed those NSFs. Are those so the corrections, are those coming back to the account? Or those corrections in sort of, are they the corrections with like a debit or a credit? I couldn't quite figure that out.
So they were deposited twice into our account. So we've got to take them back out of our account.
Okay.
And we assume that will
And you'll
solve.
see that also on the water and sewage claims because they're broken down on the bill by the street department maintenance fee and then the water and sewage portion of the bill. So if there's an NSF, we have to break that up in between those different areas. So you'll notice that on the other ones as well.
Okay, all right, thank you for clarifying that.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, we've got the sewage claims in the amount of $255,706.06. Again, there's some NSF corrections, and then the normal sewage monthly transfers for bond payments.
I move we approve the sewage claims.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
And then finally, we've got water claims in the amount of $237,538.93. Again, you'll see the NSF corrections on there, and then monthly transfers for bonds and depreciation as well.
I move we approve the water claims.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
And that's all for me.
Thank you, Clerk Treasurer Parthun.
Thank you.
And I would like to also mention Clerk Treasurer Parthun tested negative, and she did enjoy the test. Let's move to department head reports. Code Enforcement, Jeff Batchelor.
Morning. We just started the dumpster program again yesterday. I want to thank the Urban Enterprise Association again for giving us a grant for it. We got the first dumpster out on Pine Lake Avenue next to Streeter's Fireworks, right before Waverly Road. We are waiting for paperwork for a liability form from a company here in town that would give us permission right off of Lincoln Way. But as of right now, I haven't got that form yet. I thought I would have it before today's meeting so I could present it, but they haven't sent it yet. So, and that's in my report.
Jeff,
Mr.
is,
Batchelor, hey, sorry. Could you clarify? I had someone ask me like what types of things can go in those dumpsters when that program is up and running. Could you just clarify that?
Yeah, you can put couches, furniture, appliances. You cannot put tires, no paints, any kind of liquids. Besides that, everything else is good to go. Mattresses, good, and they don't have to be wrapped. They can just put it straight in there.
Jeff,
Okay,
sorry, you mentioned there's gonna be a second dumpster. You and I had talked about this waiver. Where's this second dumpster plan? Where do you plan to have it?
I plan on putting it right there in the Flag Star parking lot.
Okay,
I'm just waiting for them to give me the paperwork, just kind of for liability purposes for them.
yeah, here's what I would suggest on that, maybe to keep this moving, because Jeff's trying to get this done relatively quickly. The board could approve that with the condition that I review the liability waiver and I'm comfortable with it. That's a common way of kind of just to keep it moving, and I think Jeff would appreciate that.
Very much.
so do I have a motion?
So moved.
second.
I have a motion and a second to allow this to proceed, and with Nick Otis's approval of the Flag Star agreement. Any discussion?
So in terms of doing this kind of in advance proactively, if, do we have an agreement from Flagstar that it's okay to put it there, or is that a big deal, like where it would go regarding?
But yeah, we won't put it there, Mark, until we've approved that indemnification agreement. I just told Jeff he can't sign the indemnification agreement without Board of Works approval. So that we do this sometimes. Nick Minnick and I will do this on trying to keep construction projects moving, that you give the okay after legal review. So yeah, we haven't placed it there yet, correct, Jeff?
No, not at all.
And Jeff, you expect though that this will last, and we thank the UEA, but maybe 4 weeks?
Yeah, right around 4 weeks. I'm guessing 3 or 4, depending on how quick everything gets filled. We put the one out there yesterday. It was out there by 1 o'clock and it's filled already this morning. They're already dumping it. So, and that's just the first one.
And you're watching for non-city residents that are dumping, as this is for city residents only.
Yeah, and also businesses that are taking and going and dropping off stuff in the middle of the night. dumping all their stuff instead of getting a dumpster too.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Batchelor.
Oh, we need to approve it.
Oh, I guess we do have a motion and a second. All in
You're
favor?
moving quick on those, Mayor. We got to keep an eye on you.
That's good. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Mr. Cook, Economic Development.
No report this morning, Mayor. Thank you.
Mike Frey, Street Department.
We're grinding this week. We're over on 12th, and then we'll be going to K and the other streets this week, and then we're sweeping.
Beth West, Transport.
Good morning. You pretty much gave my report this morning. Right now, we are in COVID mode. I do have a bus running and a dispatcher answering the phone. We're just asking the public to be nice, I guess, as we try and work through this. Hopefully, we'll be up and running at full capacity by the end of the week.
Great, but you do have one bus, one dispatcher now, so limited service will be available.
Correct. Today and tomorrow, hopefully by the end of the week, we'll be back up to full service again.
Andy Snyder, Fire Department.
Thank you, Mayor. If you've been by the East Lincoln Way, Boyd Boulevard location the last couple of days, you've noticed that the old Station 3 is being demolished as of starting yesterday, so that should take a few days. Hopefully that'll be cleared out of there pretty quickly. And just a little update, we did a carbon monoxide detector giveaway on Saturday. We gave away about 120 CO detectors in less than 2 hours, so very successful. We're very happy with how that went.
Great. Tim Warner, Water Department.
Good morning. The water department's moving right ahead with their fall flushing. We have about 2 nights left. We will be completed with the fall flushing. We're also still moving through our lightning strike. We found some more issues as things have kind of showed their ugly head the last couple weeks. So we're in the middle of installing some new high service motors and some soft start motors. I also have a question from Jess there about EJ Prescott bill. That wasn't to do with the SCADA project, ma'am. That bill is being split between me and wastewater. That is for hosting and data storage from the smart meter program.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you for that, Tim. Courtney clarified that with me this morning, so thanks.
Okay, I just had to know it. I wanted to make sure we were on the same
I
page.
appreciate it. Yep.
No problem. That's all I have.
Significant bill.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, it is. That's why I wanted to know what it was part of, and that's just an annual fee too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, if me and Mr. Taylor were talking about it, the amount of money it would cost the city to have those computers and to store that data, it's in line. It's in line. We don't have to worry about it. It's all being taken care of. So, it's something we're going to have to pay every year. But I think in the long run, it's definitely saving the city money.
Thanks.
Mark Schreiber, Park Department.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to report Lakeshore Drive progress. We're hoping to see the final course of asphalt go down on the roadside this week. Also seeing a lot of progress on the shoreline amenities. A lot of work going on this morning, so moving along very well. Our tennis court projects are moving along as well. We'll see some work going on out at each of those locations this week. Our patronicity crowdfunding campaign is very close to breaking its goal. We have till Thursday, so we're right on the brink of that. So great progress there. And our park crew is out. They've been out since last week, bollarding Clear Lake Boulevard. We should have all those bollards in by midweek or by the end of this week. So making good progress there as well.
Quite a bit of compliments from the community regarding all the work going on at the lake. So nice work, Mark.
Thank you.
Jen Knoll, Human Resources.
The city, I guess, last year changed our medical plan year, vision, dental to coincide with the calendar year. So we're just gearing up for open enrollment here in November for our employees. Tim Warner and I also completed interviews for his 2 open water distribution operator positions. We had some really good candidates, so we made 2 offers. Those were accepted last week, so we're just awaiting favorable screening results back from them. Pending that, one will start on the 12th, and the other one will start that next week. And that's all I've got.
Police Chief Paul Breton.
Good morning. Next meeting, we'll be swearing in 4 new officers. Puts us within 2 of being at full staff, which Mayor Commission's working on hiring those 2 right now. We also kicked off body cameras on Thursday. They are active. Right off the bat, the first night, they used them on a drug arrest. The prosecutor was very pleased with the footage and everything that's on there. That's a big improvement for us. Also, the citizen reporting is online. I get with Jess. I know with everything going on, you got to get this out so that the public's aware of it. And also this morning, our promotion school started for new promotion testing. That'll take place in November. That's all I have.
Great job on the focus on some of the drug traffickers over the last 2 weeks.
Thank you. It's all these officers they're really hitting it hard. Proud of them.
Put the hammer down, especially on those Jefferson and Maple areas. Again, make those individuals feel uncomfortable.
Right, I believe they are.
Jess Bruder, Communications.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say that last week we launched our new brand. We've gotten a lot of really positive and constructive feedback. If the public has any comments or questions, they can submit those to brand@cityoflaportein.gov. We also, back around Labor Day, launched our new visitors website, which is liveinthelakeLife.org. If a business doesn't see themselves featured on there and they would like to be, they can contact us through the Contact Us tab on the website, and we will remedy that situation. And then finally, we've gotten lots of inquiries about our new Live in the Lake Life t-shirts. I just wanted to say we are working on that. So those who are interested can just hang tight and we'll have more information on that soon. And that's all I have.
We've had a lot of positive about the new logo, the new website, the new tagline. So great job, and people are in line waiting to get their hat, t-shirt, and whatever else.
Hey, Mayor, are there going to be long sleeve shirts with that logo on it too?
We will get some long sleeve shirts too.
Get our order in.
Let me know.
As long as you have money in your wallet, I'm sure we'll have some long sleeve shirts. Nick Minnick.
We're continuing paving. Second round of paving programs going very well. Again, thank you for the street department's assistance on hauling millings. We like to do that probably every other or every third paving program in order to have that material available as needed throughout the city. And then it also kind of helps with how we fund street department using, restricted dollars and things like that. So kind of a great way to do it, and really appreciate all their hard work on that. Another item I did not put on the agenda, I received an email on Friday from Larson Danielson Construction from Kevin Spence. They're working on the libraries project at the former telephone building on Indiana Ave. In order to do some of the work they need to do in that building, they've worked with Rumley Apartments, and they'd like to use the Rumley parking lot off of Jefferson. So parking lot behind the Rumley, it's got about 8 spots. They anticipate using that lot 2 to 3 days a week for 4 to 5 weeks. And the only issue is they really like to be able to provide the folks that usually park in that lot for the Rumley the option for all day parking. So they are requesting, and if the board would like to, it'd really be appreciated for that project, which is a great partnership with the library, to allow for the city to provide 8 parking passes so that those residents don't have to move cars or anything like that.
And for what period of time?
So it'd be 2 to 3 days a week, 4 to 5 weeks. And we can have Larson Danielson work with our parking enforcement official to make sure that they know, when that is. They had kind of thought, and I agree, just giving a pass to those vehicles would make the most sense, that they can display, and we could know that there's, a handful of cars that would normally be parking in that lot.
Well, since this is Nick's only item, if we want to help him get on with his day, could I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Mayor, just real quick, I would agree with Nick. Minnick, issuing like a parking lanyard would be the easiest way. You can put a date, they can be dated. I think that's easiest, so.
Nick, and you can work with Courtney Parthun and
Yeah,
Leslie Ferguson.
we have permits. We have permits that date that hang on their cars.
And we'll keep it to 5 weeks then. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Jerry Jackson, wastewater.
Want to report our crew is, got an echo going, don't I? Our crew is cleaning on our digester, which is the bioreactors that make methane gas that we
processes. That's about a 2-week job. It's a 300,000 gallon tank, and we use pumps and our back truck. We've got both sewer and water crews, or sewer and wastewater treatment plant crews out there working. Going well. We've got just a couple days under it, and at the end of that, we'll do repairs and piping and some of the pumps. That's a job that only comes along every 5 to 7 years, so we'll be glad to have that finished up.
Thank you, Jerry. Tom Casey. Planning.
Sorry for the delay there, Mayor. Thanks, everyone. Quickly, we have BZA training, myself and Grace Roman with Mark Worthley this afternoon. We're finishing up the red line, which will be submitted to Nick Otis for review on the sign ordinance. It's changed quite a bit over the last 10 days. We've added a whole mural section, mural application. So that'll be in addition to the changes that we talked about before. We're doing final planning for the Listich event on October 16th. So we'd like to ask the Board of Works permission to close the street off that day, roughly late morning through nighttime till 10 o'clock at night. In addition to that, we're also planning a December 5th artisan market on that same street on Monroe Street, and we would need to close the street off that day as well. That's December 5th, and that's in conjunction, and we're partnering with a group called The Collective, which is local LaPorte County artisans. So I don't know if I'm able to ask permission for those 2 dates at this meeting, but I want to let you know that short of any cancellation due to COVID, we do have the plans to have both of these events on 10/16 and then 12/05.
And we'll monitor the Listich based on COVID, any other increases and so forth.
Yes.
So since, Tom, this is Mr. Casey's only item on the agenda, may I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? A motion and a second. Discussion? Are there any questions?
So this is October 16th for the, what was that event, Mr. Casey?
We call it Friday Night Live. That's the initial Listich event where people would support the local restaurants. They'd have seating on Monroe Street underneath the lights, and we'd also have music as entertainment.
Okay, and then the December 5th was the artisans.
We're calling it Monroe Street Market. So this would be like a Christmas market featuring artisans from a group called The Collective. Other artisans from the area, from the region, are invited, and that's happening right now. But we're already getting quite a bit of traction on that event within the last 3 days, as Jess can attest to. Also, I'm working with Jess on on both of these events. So, along with Grace Roman, the three of us are doing them, or organizing them.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Sorry, Mayor.
Yes.
I was going to add, Mary Ann from CDBG is also here with me on the.
Well, before, let us pass this motion first.
Okay, sorry.
So we'll pass the motion. We do have a motion and a second. All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. And before we go to Mary Ann, I also want to thank Tom Casey and Nick Otis. They're working with a private individual that has acquired the Lady Rose and the building next to it. And we do have a verbal or text agreement that that building will be down by the end of October, October 31st. And you are also working that we can get control of those buildings back if that does not happen.
Buildings plural, that building adjacent to the Lady Rose is scheduled to come down as well.
Yes. And if not by the end of October, we will be able to legally work at getting control of those buildings again so we can make sure they're demolition by somebody being the goal.
Mayor, this is Annette.
Yes, ma'am.
I will make sure that the board members get a use form, a request for use form for those two events before the next meeting. I mean, I know you've already approved them, but I'll make sure that we have the form on file.
Thank you. Okay, so anything else, Mary Ann?
I would like to introduce Mary Ann and have a quick update on Tidma Bakery, which is successfully torn down, and what we're doing going forward, so.
Yes.
I'm not as tall as Tom is, so, Tidma Bakery's down, and later on in the meeting, I hope there's on the agenda an item for a change order for the demolition process. But in the meantime, we're planning on scheduling a meeting with the neighbors around the Tidma Bakery property to get their input as to what they would like to see, how they would like to see that parcel of land developed. And we're hoping within the next month to have a meeting with just the neighbors to get their input, seek some community outreach.
And the goal is to have proposals and a direction we're headed next spring?
Yes.
Great. Any questions from the members? Thank you, Mary Ann.
You're welcome.
Department heads, if you do not have anything, an item on the agenda, have a great rest of the day, and thank you for the update. We will now move to new business, request for use, Youth Service Bureau. And this is just a request from the Youth Service Bureau, October 31st. They would like to have a walk down Michigan Avenue and asking, Annette, I think they're asking any closure
Yes, from 10 to 11 a.m.
from
for a
10.
Halloween fun walk.
It's basically the same, well, I shouldn't say that. It's just Michigan Avenue, and they don't want it closed for very long.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Mayor, they do have the proper insurance as well.
Great. Thanks to the Youth Service Bureau for all they do. Do I have a motion, or I have a motion and a second? All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Jerry Jackson, basement grant.
I'm not aware we have any today. Are there some listed on the agenda?
Jerry, you're muted. Mayor, you'll have to mute your microphone.
Well, we have Deborah Weiss.
What's the address?
708 West 10th Street.
I'm not sure how to.
Lori Larson is on. She
Yeah.
sent it in.
Am I able to talk now? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, actually, yes, we do have an application for a basement grant. Deborah Weiss?
So we do have this request, the price for labor and materials for above is $5,325, and I think they'd be looking for $1,500 from us.
I didn't
That is
see
correct.
that's correct. Okay, Lori's got it.
I'll make a motion that we approve the $1,500 for Deborah Weiss.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Tim Warner, well cleaning agreement.
Yes, thank you. We have two wells that are in desperate need of cleaning. Their specific capacity have both fell quite a bit in the last year. Earlier in the year, we had pump and flow tests done on all of our wells, and these two wells are in desperate need of cleaning. Kankakee number 2 and Warnakee number 6. Warnakee number 6 is one of the main production wells from the Lake Street plant. Kankakee 2 is part of the East plant rotation. Basically, we're going to try things a little different. We're going to go with the normal chemical cleaning and surge block. But by doing both the wells at the same time, we can leave those chemicals in to get extended contact time to attack the iron bacteria and some of the fine plugging that may be occurring in the formation just right outside the screen. The total for each one of those is $15,750 a piece, bringing the total to both of them to $31,500. I don't anticipate any pump work being done to either of these wells. We just put a new pump in number 2 and Warnakee number 6. So I feel that that cost is going to be right on target. A lot of times when we go to clean these wells, we pull the pumps. There's extra costs involved in rebuilding the pump, maybe doing some casing work. But both of these wells have had that work performed fairly recently. So I don't foresee any extra costs in those wells. So I'm just asking permission from the board for a total of $31,500 to be awarded to Peerless to come in and do that well cleaning.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Tim, you have this in the 2020 budget, correct?
Mayor, it's in every year we budget for well cleaning. It's very important for our water supply to keep those wells in tip-top condition. The Kankakee number 2 was built in 1968, and it's still one of our best producing wells in that well field, and that's just from keeping up on it every year. So yes, it's an ongoing item in the budget line. Yes, sir.
Mr. Warner, so so in this well cleaning, then, so you got that contact time, and then it looks like that water is then never actually enters the water system, the public water system, but then is eliminated into a designated location, right? Am I reading that correctly? So none of these cleaning chemicals that are utilized really enter the water system. You kind of flush it all out. They're neutralized,
Yes, sir.
and it's flushed, right?
Yes, sir. Usually after the cleaning's completed, the water department does 2 to 3 day flushing on that. Henry in our lab pulls numerous tests to make sure that water's safe before it goes back into our raw water supply. They're not that harsh of chemicals. Iron bacteria is treated with chlorine, which we already add anyways. And then there's some mild acids that go in to clean the screen and back into the formation and remove some of those fines.
Any other?
Have we done any other well cleans this year, or these are the first 2? I don't remember us being brought up previously.
No, ma'am, we haven't done any this year. COVID in the spring. We usually do them in the spring and in the fall. COVID kind of put the brakes on that, so we are a little bit behind. on the other side of that, I think doing both these wells at the same time allows us to have that extended contact time. So in the whole scheme of things, I think it actually worked out better for us.
Great.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'm going to ask Mr. Kosher, you were an aye?
Oh, yes, I
Okay.
think
Motion,
I wasn't on mute for sure.
motion passes 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jen Knoll.
I thought I said aye and, moved on to the next topic.
Good morning. I've got 3 job descriptions that are updated. One is new, I should say. So I want to start with the administrative assistant that serves the street department and the police department. So this person now splits her time between the two departments. So we've updated that job description to reflect that. We also have the deputy clerk treasurer in training. So we've essentially copied the deputy clerk treasurer's job description and added that to coincide with the position that was added to the salary ordinance. And then we also have a change to a job title for the traffic control officer. She will now be the ordinance violations officer, and I believe that was updated in the salary ordinance as well. So just asking for your approval in those changes.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Jen, I love the new letterhead, number 1, and number 2. I think you did a great job on these positions. And I would say with Joni Lehman leaving us as deputy clerk after 23 years, this is a necessity that has to take place. And I'm glad, Courtney, that you're putting it out there for this year yet.
She's not leaving yet, you guys.
How long will there be overlap between Joni and a new employee for that position?
Oh, we're trying to do that as early as possible, and that's what this is about. So Joni she doesn't even have an actual retirement date. It's probably the end of 2021. But with all of the, there's a lot to learn. I can attest to that. So the earlier we can get someone in, the better. And so yeah, we just want to make sure that we're getting this all approved, doing it the right way, and then we can start, whether that's on a part-time basis until next year, whatever we can do. So.
And we budgeted for that with 2021's budget?
We budgeted for full-time for 2021.
Great.
And then as well, we're job sharing in the chief of police and street department, obviously to be fiscally responsible. We'll have an individual from the street department. We'll also be doing the admin work for the police department.
That was, so Mayor, when I talked to you about these positions, that was kind of my first thinking too, was like, budget wise, where are we at and with these different roles? And so really appreciate that. And certainly for, for the clerk treasurer position, that's critical to have that knowledge there. But the others, that sounds like a really smart way to really optimize the manpower and the woman power that we have.
Well, and again, knowing where the economy is, the tough thing with the pandemic, we will spend less in 2021 than we do in 2020. So I think we're being fiscally responsible.
And just to note, the administrative assistant for the chief of police and street department, that's already happened. I think Chief Breton can attest that it's going very well.
Yes, it's very well. She's as hard as she's worked and cleaned everything up for us, it's amazing. I didn't realize how much I was missing.
So I do have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Andy Snyder.
Thank you, Mayor. I've forwarded to the board a memorandum of understanding between our department and HealthLink. It's regarding the mobile response team This, the second time that this memorandum of understanding has been forwarded. We've been participating in this for about a year now. And basically this team is a group of firefighter, police officer, and representatives from HealthLink, whether it be a peer recovery coach, and we, people who are suffering from addictions that are looking for help. This team is assembled as needed, and we start them through the process. And we are, from our standpoint, we're there to lend support, and also we do a quick patient assessment upon the intake and get them hopefully on the road to recovery. So I would ask that the board would approve this again. Only change from last year to this year would be the amounts that the firefighters are paid for participating in the team.
Do I have a motion?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Mr. Otis?
Yeah, I just said, no issue with this agreement. I previously reviewed this. Chief Snyder, the rates, do those go directly to the firefighters, those amounts?
Yes, they go directly to the firefighter. HealthLink pays a check directly to them at their house.
So how does that work? Is somebody on call from the fire department for these calls?
Yeah, we have a list of about 9 individuals, and we have actually 3 more that are in training today and tomorrow. And then as one of those, obviously this cannot take place while they're on duty. So when a intake comes up, their coordinator will contact me, and then we'll go down the list and see who might be available to be part of the intake team. And then it's all forwarded. Actually, Frontline is intermediate a step to it also. So we have them involved in our submission of the invoice goes to Frontline and then gets paid through help at that point.
I see a different rate depending on emergency or not emergency visit. How is that kind of defined? Because I think the idea is somebody calls, you want to get to them right away, correct?
Exactly. Yeah, that's correct. If there's at least several hours of notice, the non-emergent amount will be paid. If they call us and they expect one of our team members to be there within maybe 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours or fewer, then that emergent time pay scale kicks in at that point in time.
Is that timeline defined? Should it be defined in here? What constitutes
Depending
emergency versus non-emergency?
Depending upon circumstances is where we've left it a little open. It is not defined in there. It is defined as far as our agreement with the HealthLink officials. Being the reason I say this, a call at midnight with 6 hours notice is going to fall into that emergent, as opposed to a call at 7 o'clock in the morning and then still 6 hours notice. We're going to have plenty of time to find somebody in that respect. Whereas in the middle of the night or something like that, it is going to really handcuff us if we want to try to find somebody first thing in the morning. So we have not specifically, but it is a pretty good understanding as to what that definition is between the parties.
Between the two groups, okay.
Yeah, and they're ecstatic that we are part of this program and that we are very well involved. They accommodate our personnel, to whatever. I mean, they accommodate us greatly with it.
And how many firefighters will be a part of when a call is made on average normally?
There's one firefighter who's participating in the intake. Within our department, we have, after these 3 complete their training today and tomorrow, we'll have 12 individuals that can be chosen from. So we have really good participation in our department, more so than any of the other 3 counties that are involved in it. Again, HealthLink is ecstatic that we're such a part of the program.
Andy, why don't you just briefly explain, since we got a new board of work since the last time, just general, I mean, this is for an individual that is addicted and excited. I want to change. I want to get off drugs, right? And they
right.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, this is an individual who has, hit the rope at the end of it, and they've made that decision because we by no means try to force them. None of the peer recovery coaches, anyone forces them. It's all of their own accord that they've said they've had enough. They need some help. They know they can't do it themselves, and this is the opportunity that's in place right now. It actually, we did a PATH program, which was a similar program prior to this, but did not have the reach of what HealthLink can provide with it. And once those people make a contact with, usually through a HealthLink, one of their offices, that's when the team is assembled and they start the process of getting them help, whether it's a in-house type of recovery or something that their coaches can work with the people on to get some results. But it's the first step of a long process.
Andy, where are the in-house options for these individuals?
That is, HealthLink takes it pretty much at that point, so I'm not sure which in-house facilities they're using. I would have to defer that question to them.
Okay. Because that seems to be an area that we could definitely improve on, so it'd be good to chat with them. And,
Right.
Okay.
Who does the individual reach out to initiate this process?
Usually they're reaching out to the HealthLink peer recovery coach. And I know that those coaches have met with people in the emergency rooms, whether they're coming in for a physical examination at HealthLink or through many different avenues that they seek this help. That's where these peer recovery coaches make the first contact with them, and then the next step is to get them set up with this intake that we're part of.
So they've had some knowledge of HealthLink and how to initiate this.
Right, yes. Yeah.
And then, so with regards to the team that's provided, I didn't quite understand like what role a fire department staff member who's part of this, like what role would they play on that team?
To start with, these 4 individuals for that initial intake get together. There's a police officer, a firefighter, a peer recovery coach, and a counselor. And as that initial intake, the firefighter's position is one, to be there for supportive purposes. And also, most importantly, they are there to do a patient assessment upon the intake. So they'll take vitals. If there's a history of, let's say, diabetes, they'll go ahead and do a blood sugar. And they'll just give pretty much what we would do on scene with a patient if we were responding. And then all that information will be entered in as the person starts to move through the process. And if needed be, and there's follow-ups that are needed, that's also part of this program that we can be available to be there for patient assessment also.
Okay.
Andy, can HealthLink provide data from the first year to say these are the successes, how many people you've worked with, and can they provide that kind of an annual report, do you know?
Yeah, they can and they do, and we can access that. I know that they were extremely pleased with the way the first year went, so much so that this grant that funds this entire program was reissued again. And I believe it's at least in the amount of like $500,000 is what's funding this. No, I take that back. I think it's a few $1 million. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, to that point, Mayor, I mean, and Mr. Schneider, I'd love to just kind of see the results of this to know like what's happening. And so do we also have, I noticed on that team, there's a law enforcement, do we also have an agreement like this with the police department?
Yes, you do. And that probably will be forthcoming. I think the police department signed their MOU a little bit later in the year last year than we did. So I would assume that you'll probably be seeing one coming from them also.
If I could answer that, I just received it today when I sat down. So I just got it. It'll be at the next one. I have a captain that takes care of all that facilitates all that. He forwards that to me. He just forwarded it to me. So that will be at our next meeting. It's basically the exact same thing.
Gotcha. Okay. Mr. Otis, so in kind of looking at this, and I know you went over this. So the only thing that, I mean, it seems a little bit kind of unusual, not in a bad way, but just kind of different that sort of HealthLink, and we've got city employees doing things under the umbrella of the HealthLink organization and kind of getting, you know, reimbursed for that, not obviously through the city. So it's something that doesn't appear to cost the city anything at all, and provides what I'm assuming to be really some great advantages for folks with addiction. Is it so there's no issue? I mean, clearly there's no issue on your part as far as any liability, legalities, or anything with staff performing these functions really under that HealthLink umbrella.
I think the risk is pretty low. You know, liability, you know, I guess I'd mention this because the mayor's been really pushing on work comp. If one of our officers, police or fire, were injured, I would think this is probably covered by work comp because it's through their, you know, they're connected through the city. I think the risk is relatively low, and I think that the value added by our police officers and firemen is well exceeds the risk here. It's not I don't. Chief Breton and Chief Snyder could probably comment. I don't see these as high risk situations where, I mean, they're not carting a human off or anything like that. So I feel pretty comfortable with it.
Yeah, I would agree. It's very low risk. I actually am part of the team too, so I've been able to participate in several of the intakes, and the outreach from the individuals that we are helping here. They are more than they want our help, and so to go into it and be in a situation where it would present a danger, I don't even see that. That's basically where the police come into it also, because they've already done a background check on that individual before that intake ever takes place to make sure that they have a history of it. I could let Chief Breton speak more to that too, but also to know too, as far as HealthLink's concerned, and the city, all of the medical equipment that we do the patient assessment with has been provided for by HealthLink. They've purchased an entire medical bag fully equipped for us to use for each of these. So we're not even using city equipment to go out on these intakes.
Thank you for clarifying all that.
Any other questions? And I think we'll look forward. Andy, if you could give us a update on the annual report for HealthLink before the next meeting, would that be fair? Next Board of Works meeting?
That would be fair. Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none. Oh, Jess Romine?
Sorry, is LaPorte City firefighters going to all of the different counties or just LaPorte County? There's LaPorte, Stark Lake, and Porter. Are they able to go to all of them, or is HealthLink partnering with fire and police in those counties as well?
They are partnering with other organizations in those counties. Right now, the goal to start with was that there would be two teams in LaPorte County, one comprised of LaPorte City officers and firefighters, and also Michigan City. Unfortunately, that has not transpired in Michigan City, at least as far as the fire department's concerned. So we do split, and we will go to Michigan City for their intakes over at the HealthLink there as our personnel.
For Michigan City
A
residents?
little side note to it, they do increase the payment amount because of the added mileage and added time that it takes to go to Michigan City.
And
Why hasn't Michigan City been able to make it happen? Do they not want to be part of it?
We've approached them. There's a new administration over there. So I think that they are, trying to feel their ways through some other things. We've extended that invitation. We will continue to follow up with them on it. But hopefully that will be the ultimate goal, that they will get a team in place also.
And whose responsibility is to negotiate with them? Is it HealthLink trying to contact with them?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, again, we have a lot on our plate. I would just be cautious, not that we don't want to help lives in Michigan City, but we have to focus on within our city limits.
Yeah. No, and a lot of time what they try to do, knowing that the team is here, it reaches outside the city limits, even with the county, but they definitely try to make sure that we're taking care of LaPorte first, because that's where the team is located.
Okay. That's my only concern. I think we have a limited force compared, Michigan City has almost twice as many firefighters, correct?
Right, correct.
They do, but they're down in numbers as well. Substantially.
Again, I think this is a great program for the city of LaPorte, and I just keep an eye on that if you would.
Definitely.
So I do have a motion and a second. All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Mark?
Nope, sorry, couldn't hear me? I'm not
There
sure why
we
I'm
go.
getting cut out. Sorry.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
I'm not dragging my feet as any kind of a protest or anything.
I wasn't sure. I didn't want to put you under the gun there. Paul Breton requests permission to sell excess equipment.
I don't know if the list made it to you. I've got several old Impalas that are gonna take thousands of dollars to fix up. They're unsafe as they are, rusted out. I got some of the trunks won't stay closed because of rust. Basically want to take those and have LaPorte Chrysler actually take them to the auction for us.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mayor, can you just identify how many vehicles
I have a
that is?
Mr. Otis, hold on one second. I have a motion and a second. Discussion, Mr. Otis?
Yeah, just how many vehicles are we talking about, Chief Breton?
7 Chevrolet Impalas. There's 3 2010s, 3 2011s, and 1 2012.
And these are these the ones that we've seen where the cushion inside is torn up?
That would be the best conditioned ones. These are, I've got, all of them are stripped. I've got them, some of them sitting out in the street department lot back by their salt pile. Those were parked, mainly, every one of them has so many problems with them. We're talking, I think the cheapest one to fix up was gonna be over $2,000. The car's worth about $1,500. And then what's gonna happen? They have all over, have over 100,000 miles on 'em. These are old war dogs, have been out in the weather their whole life and being used on the city streets, so.
And do you expect the goal being 1,500 to 2,000 per car?
You always go higher on that number. At 1,500, I would think, we'd be lucky to be getting that.
I have a lot of faith in you, so I'm sure you can get it closer to 2,000.
Are these the ones that we're replacing? Because last board meeting, we made a motion to go ahead and approve Nick Minnick to do some bids or get some bids for 8 to 10 new police cars.
Right, I have more of them. I do have more of them. I haven't traded in cars before because I always kept them back as pool cars. But these are the worst of the 12 I have that I need to get rid of.
And just
We're at 12 total and we're getting rid of 7.
Right, I have to keep some back. I have officers coming back. The safer ones I'll have for training cars.
No, it sounds like we need to get those other cars pretty quickly then though, don't we?
Yeah, yes, we do.
Okay.
the problem is their, the construction time, correct?
They'll begin building them, I believe, end of November. But they are taking orders and, you know, I just don't want to get way far on the order, back order. That takes time too then. I believe, they've been taking orders for new cars actually Chrysler's the only one that built a police car now. Ford has completely got out of the sedan market and I like sedans, they're cheaper. And I think they're more secure for hauling your, everything we haul in the trunks. It's out of sight, out of mind, doesn't move around. Cars, I believe, are the way to go. They have a happy picture.
And you also are going to be looking, we saw a community in southern Indiana looking at the Tesla models that over, 5 years are paying for themselves, more than paying for themselves?
Right, the lower end Teslas are paying for themselves in 5 to 5.5 years. It's something that I think we need to look at, maybe try a couple. Try one in possibly in the detective bureau and one on the street and see how something like that performs. The reviews are very high on them. I have seen no negatives.
Chief Breton, those, when you mentioned the 12 cars, those are just kind of going back to a little bit, Jessica's question, like, those are not assigned cars. Those are your extra kind of pool cars you mentioned that you could assign to a new officer or have as a backup if there's a repair or something, right? Those aren't the current ones that are on the street.
Right, those have all been, the ones I'm turning in have not been assigned for quite a while because of safety problems and the repair bills being so high. I mean, you know, you gotta be fiscally responsible. I can't put thousands of dollars in something that isn't worth it, and then right down the road, something else goes wrong with these old cars right away. I know people think a 2010 or 2012 isn't old, but 100,000 miles to working the city streets, and there's a lot of idle time, break time. Several of them we've had to repair motors on, upper ends, the heads on them, and all sorts of things. These are cars we bought under E85. The E85 was very hard on them. We had to run E85 for 5 years through them. It was very, very hard on the motors.
Okay, I was just thinking that out of those numbers, like, you still have 5 left that are really purely like extra cars, right?
Right.
Okay,
right.
And we'll have to look at continuing to process these cars, get a plan over the next few years so we don't run into a situation like we are right now.
Well, when I got hired way back when, we had pool cars, and the city used to buy 5 to 6 cars a year. And in 2 years, those cars, when they were pool cars, they were completely wore out. The seats were broke down, and I mean, 100,000+ miles on them, and guys didn't take care of them. This shows the pride in ownership. You know, we're getting rid of cars that are 12 years old now, and that's huge, really. 11 years old, some of them, some 12. I still have an 08 on the street that I'm not getting rid of because it's such a good car. And it's been taken care of. You get an officer that takes care of a car, and it's amazing how long they last.
Chief, can you give us an update before the next meeting regarding the Tesla options? Just to update the board?
Yep, yes, I've been looking into it. It's something I'm very interested in.
Great.
Are you working with Nick Minnick on that, since he's collecting the bids?
Not on the Teslas yet. I need to gather more information. I'd like to see if there's some sort of grant possibility too.
I think that's important to bring to the Board of Works members, just so this option and look at the overall plus and minus.
You know, but not to get too far off a tangent, but talking about the electric vehicles and Chief Breton's talking about maintaining these vehicles, you know, what you're seeing now a lot is covered parking, not garages, but covered parking with solar panels on them. I mean, you're going to electric vehicles, that might be something to consider in the middle of winter to help cover those vehicles throughout the day.
We have a nice 1 megawatt solar field out at the treatment
Good
plant.
point.
I was gonna say Jerry has some options for parking out at his place there with the solar fields. All right, we do have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
So did you hear that?
I
Like
heard
said,
that one.
Okay, not sure why. It seems like maybe I'm cutting out.
The sunlight was in my eyes behind you, but besides that, I did hear you. Mary Ann Richards. Mary Ann Richards.
There she is.
There she is.
Here I am. Hi. I morphed into Tom Casey. Anyway, I have a change order for soil sampling at the former Tidma Bakery. When Pavey Excavating was demolishing the building, we uncovered a hydraulic lift underneath the building, and out of an abundance of caution, we felt it was necessary to have Jacob and Hefner come in and take some soil samples and test the soil to make sure there was nothing toxic or hazardous around there. Because the end result, we're hoping the end result of that property is affordable housing. So the cost of the change order is $1,850. and that would be covered through the Community Development Block Grant.
Do I have a
And there
motion?
is funding available.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second discussion, and I just got to say, if you haven't had an opportunity to drive by the Tidma Bakery property, it looks fantastic, and really exciting about the proposals that'll be coming into the city to start construction next spring. I mean, I think it's going to be very good.
Mayor or Mary, talk to me about this lift. It was under the concrete?
Yeah, and we didn't know it was there until Pavey was pulling up a concrete slab.
Wow.
So the lift was there from all along while the building's
Yeah.
been there?
Yes. Someone just poured concrete on top of it, and there it was.
Well, I appreciate you moving forward and taking the extra step here. So, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I've asked Jerry Jackson to come. You've heard us talk about water, sewer, infrastructure issues, problems. And I think it's important not only for Board of Works members, but the public to understand we can't continue to turn our head. I think Jerry and I have come up with common agreement that the city of LaPorte, the term, we just can't keep up. And that's a fair statement. And we have to address this. We can't turn our head. We've seen too many times, we've kind of tied the hands of Tim Warner, of Jerry Jackson behind their back when we have street floods in the number areas, Monroe Manor issues, and just overall projects that have to be done. And the only way that these dollars can be provided for are through water and sewer potential increases that the city council would have to support. But I think it's important that the public understands, because we don't want to wait till more sinkholes happen, more floodings happen, and they have to be addressed. So with that, I've asked Jerry to give a brief presentation regarding, to start with, what the problems are in our community. Jerry?
Thank you, Mayor. You've got it right. You know, we've got an old city and old infrastructure.
Tim, is Jerry on?
Have you got me here? Okay.
So it must be coming through your.
Can you hear Jerry? Because I'm muting mine.
Am I here? You got me? Okay.
I'll mute mine, Tim.
Yeah, we've got, you know, we're an older city. We've got old infrastructure. Like much of the U.S., we're behind in keeping up on repairing, replacing our infrastructure.
Jerry's still muted though.
Yep.
We can't hear a thing.
Okay, hold 1 second. Is your computer muted?
Should I unmute it on Zoom? We're gonna get an echo, right?
Or should I have him do this computer?
Should I turn off the mic?
I can have him come here.
My mic is off on the computer.
Just have him come here. Technical difficulty, excuse me for 1 minute. Don't answer any emails if they come in.
All right, are we good to go?
Yes.
All right, very good. So, as I started to say, we've got old infrastructure. Now I've lost the
Presentation.
presentation. All right, I've got the presentation on my other PC, but I don't know if anyone else will be able to see it.
But can they see it?
Not right now.
Unless you need to go to the Facebook connection to see it.
It's not pulling through when I share my screen on Zoom, so there's no other way to do it.
Should we do this another time, or should we try to proceed?
We'll just do it like yesterday.
Okay, it didn't work yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. I'm now, I guess, get back my train of thought. We're, I've got a list of, some projects to talk about, capital projects, that will, well, I'll talk about rates and funding. These projects, are projects that are essential to keep the treatment plant running, the sewer system running. They're essential capital projects for the city of LaPorte. I'll start talking about our stormwater system, our combined sewers. LaPorte's got about 75% combined sewers. That arises out of the geography of LaPorte. There aren't any streams in LaPorte, so there's nowhere to put stormwater. Except for in low-lying areas, which back when LaPorte was founded, those were swamps, and you didn't want to make those any bigger. And the lakes are at the high end of the town, so there's nowhere to get rid of water and sewage. So our founding fathers built a large diameter pipes to take the sewage out of town and discharge the Travis Ditch. When they got started around the turn of the century, in 1900s, there was no sewage plant, so you could just discharge that sewage full bore downstream. It's no problem. Didn't matter that the volume was enormous when it rained. You didn't have to treat it. But now we're in a different situation. When you have a large storm, the large volume of water overloads the sewage treatment plant. You get basement backups, you get street flooding. We've got issues to fix. The city did some projects back in the middle like 2006, the middle 2000s, to solve overflows. The city still has that tremendous volume of combined wet weather flows to deal with, but we enlarged our 30 million gallon basin and made that our storage basin for wet weather flows. So when we get a big rain, we divert into that lagoon. We hold it there during the rain and then bring it back to the treatment plant for treatment. So that way we don't have overflows. When I first got started, geez, it's been almost 30 years ago, we would overflow every time it rained. Now we're in a situation where every other year perhaps we'll have an overflow. And that satisfies the EPA and that satisfies IDEM.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Is that basin right there, is that off of like 18th and I Street, roughly?
That's our Torino storm basin, and that basin is going to be used for just plain storm water. The wet weather basin that stores a mixture of sewage and storm water is at the treatment plant. And we've got a 78-inch pipe, a 60-inch pipe, a 48-inch pipe, and a 36-inch pipe that can carry an enormous volume of water down to that lagoon. So we're able to do that without having an overflow. That basin kind of functions like you've heard of Chicago's deep tunnel. You take the water, put it in storage, and then bring it out later and treat it. And like the deep tunnel, if we get more than 30 million gallons of storm water coming to us, we have an overflow, similar to how Chicago will release into Lake Michigan. But we've got past that problem, and we're now working on systems problems within the sewer system. I've got some slides, I hope you're seeing them, of flooding problems, flooding on Sagamore Street. Here's a basement backup picture where a sewer's backed into a basement. We've talked about some of the basement backup grants that are eliminating some of that problem. Some surface flooding problems. I'm showing the intersection of Tyler and Washington where it floods. This last picture here of flooding was a computer facility that we got a hard rain, it backed into the facility. The facility shared a common sewer with a car repair shop, flushed out all the oil out of their sewer and into this building. It was a disaster. So these sort of problems are while we don't have combined sewer overflows, we still have combined sewer problems to fix. I'll talk about a few that I'd like to address with this round of funding. On B Street, this is, affects a block, only about a block, maybe 10, 12 houses. When it rains, the water's got nowhere to go in that block. It's too low to connect to directly to the combined sewer system, so the water stands until our guys get out there with pumps and pump it out. The solution in the short run is a restricted flow to the combined sewer system with backflow prevention. So we would drain that area into the combined sewers, but eventually we'll connect it into our old Woolen Mills property, which is adjacent. That property is designated for a regional basin, but its use is waiting for a storm sewer on Indiana Avenue, because it has to have a drain before we can start chucking stormwater into it. The next problem I want to talk about was the letters and number streets. This is a considerably bigger project. This is kind of the area from I Street over to Andrew Avenue, east to west. North to south, we'd be from 18th Street down to 10th Street. It's a combined sewer area. Everything flows down to the 12th Street main. The sewers running down the numbered or the lettered streets are 10 and 12-inch size, or far too small to carry stormwater. So we get flooding in the streets. We get backups into basements. On the picture I got up, you can see there's a half grading. They understood when they built the system, which baffles me, but they understood when they built the system that it could not handle the stormwater flow, so they put gratings with only half openings on them so that the sewer system wouldn't overload. But then, of course, you back up all the way up into the houses, into the front yards with that kind of problem. I know the mayor posted a video. I got some pictures from it. The pictures are kids playing in the water, which isn't really clean water. You know, that runs off everybody's yards. Everyone's got their pets out in the yards. It's not nice water. Not a place to play, but I know that's done. The next project is again a smaller project. This is over in the South Mill area. This is adjacent to the old Bernanke greenhouses, and the old Bernanke greenhouse and all the lots in that area all kind of drain down to the backyards of about 4 houses, and that large volume of water floods their backyards. Been doing it for many years. It's a real mosquito problem, which has gotten considerably more serious with the encephalitis spread by mosquitoes now with the warmer temperatures, and also it's a real odor problem. So it's not a healthy situation, and it's certainly not desirable. They've made requests for a long time to have that problem fixed, and it's just an issue of funding. How do we fund these sort of projects? The solution for that one is a drain to the combined sewer system, again restricted so that we don't overload the combined sewer system. Eventually, we'll connect that area into the storm sewer that I talked earlier about on Indiana Avenue when it's rebuilt. So that Indiana Avenue will be, storm sewer will be a trunk that kind of trunk sewer that reaches up into our combined sewer area and lets us do sewer separation projects, a valuable asset when it comes. That's scheduled for 2025 with the state highway reconstruction of Indiana Avenue. I got a few pictures of Southmore Road there you can see. The next project I want to talk about is Monroe Manor. That's a very large project. In 2015, we did the first phase of that. Spent about $2 million. We did a little more than 40% of the neighborhood. Reconstructed the streets, new storm sewers, new sanitary sewers, new sidewalks. So the southern and the western end of that subdivision is complete, and the rest of the neighborhood's been agitating ever since to get their piece of it and get their neighborhood redone. And I'd encourage everyone to go through there, because there's a dramatic difference between Monroe Manor, where it's been reconstructed, and Monroe Manor, the older parts of the roads. There's puddles in the roads, the curbs are in terrible shape, the roads are dirty because they don't drain properly. And I think having proper road in front of your house and infrastructure kind of gives you some encouragement to redo your houses. if you look in the rebuild area, it is a market difference from the rest of the neighborhood. The remaining piece of that job is about $3 million. And I'm kind of anxious to finish it up. As I said, I've been getting a lot of pressure from residents to get that done. Any questions on stormwater, combined sewer projects? I was gonna go into the wastewater treatment plant now.
Jerry, I'm just curious, you had on the previous slide, like $3 million, 2.21 per bill.
Yes, that's an approximate cost of the project, per sewer bill, per customer per month. So
Per month for all city residents? Or
Yes.
is the residents in that area?
these sort of projects are funded citywide. They're very large projects. They're bonded, so they're paid over 20 years, and you move from area to area, so everyone eventually benefits. But as you noted, right now there's a smaller neighborhood going to benefit from this expenditure. So,
Thank you.
for the treatment plant, we've got the main work is a rehabilitation of the headworks, the start of the plant, the influent part of the plant. It was constructed in the mid-'80s, 1987. The first process we do is screening. In a combined sewer system, you get sticks, you get bottles, you get rags, you get all sorts of debris. That sort of stuff clogs pumps, fills tanks with material you can't treat. So the first stage is the screen. Our screens were put in the late '80s, and then they were modified and improved in the middle '90s, and they're past their mechanical life. So they're just ready to be replaced. About 24 years old. Current model screens are finer than ours. So they'll take out about 1/4-inch size material, and that'll be a great help for our process, because we have plugged nozzles, we have debris in our wastewater solids that when you put that on the farm field, when we dispose of our wastewater solids, you see those materials, and of course that's undesirable. We use our land and other farmers' lands, and no one wants to see trash in their farm field. So this is a way to keep that out and improve the process. We would replace the screens and with smaller screens, and there's also some solids handling improvements with that. The other part of that project is after the water's screened, you take out grit, and grit is sand and coffee grounds and all dense inorganic material, not biodegradable material. So we take out that grit. Grit is abrasive, so it'll eat your pumps up. So in the second stage of the treatment plant, we take out grit. Grit is landfilled like the screenings. The old process we have is a bucket and chain system. We would replace it with a more current swirl technology that is less moving parts, far more efficient, works better. Our current system allows grit to pass through into the downstream processes, which as I mentioned, is hard on the pumps, but it also fills up our bioreactors and makes them less effective. So that'll be a nice improvement. The other big part of that, larger part of that process or project, is to replace the walls on our biotowers, or really reinforce them. Our biotowers are bioreactors that remove ammonia. We spray the water down through media that's in these tanks, and the media has biomass on it that eats ammonia. Ammonia is toxic, so it would kill fish if we discharge it directly. We have limitations to meet for ammonia. The inner workings of the tank are in excellent shape mechanically, and the media is in excellent shape. So the idea here is to reinforce the tank walls, which are corroding. They use a process called shotcrete, where they essentially build a tank around the tank that's self-supporting. So as the inner wall crumbles, the outer wall continues to stand. And that outer wall should at least have a lifetime of the inner workings of the tank. So we should get maximum lifetime out of the process. The next process, or next project I wanted to talk about was phosphorus removal. Phosphorus is a nutrient You'll see it's it's nitrogen, NP and K. You hear about the nutrients you have in fertilizers. It causes algae blooms. So if we discharge it downstream, you'll see the water's very fertile. You see a lot of weeds growing, algae blooms downstream, and it contributes to the dead zone where the Mississippi River discharges into the Gulf of Mexico. So the Indiana Department of Environmental Management has been, as permits are renewed, has been putting phosphorus limitations in those permits. And it was LaPorte's turn to get a new permit in February this year. So we got this requirement to remove phosphorus. We don't have to meet the limitation till 2023. We're doing a big project at the plant for the rehab of the headworks. It makes sense to fold this in and fund it at the same time. Our next deadline is in March of 2021, where we have to get construction plans down the item. So they stagger deadlines out in our permits so that they make sure we're addressing it. And so it comes at it's a driver for the funding in this project, but I think we're on schedule. We use metal salts to remove phosphorus, either iron or aluminum salts. They tie up the phosphorus, drop it down in the solids, and the phosphorus is removed with the solids out of the process. It does increase the volume of solids we have, so it increases operational costs in a couple ways. First, we have to buy chemicals, and then we have more solids to dispose of. So that was included kind of in our calculations for our operating costs. The last project I wanted to talk about was conversion from chlorine gas disinfection to bleach. We currently have ton cylinders of chlorine at the treatment plant. It's a compressed gas. It's pure compressed gas, and it's compressed to such a point that it's a liquid. Chlorine gas is a dangerous gas. We have a whole lot of controls and leak detectors and personal protective equipment to make sure no one's harmed. It's also a big regulatory issue. We have several different regulations through IDEM and through OSHA that we have to meet in order to use that gas. And of course, it's a potential danger to the workers and a danger off-site. When you have a ton cylinder, a ton of chlorine, and it's converted into gas, it's a significant cloud. It would be quite noticeable off-gas if you're off-site, if you have a significant leak. So this process would convert the disinfection from gas to bleach. We'd meter in bleach. As it happens, we're lucky because the city is lucky. Alexander Chemical manufactures bleach just south of town, so trucking costs are lower compared to a lot of cities because we're that close to the manufacturer. The project we'd construct tanks and have small pumps that would feed the chemical into the process. It's essentially the same process we're doing now. There's no change in the flow, in the process flow, just we're adding liquid instead of gas. That's kind of the list of projects. Are there questions I can address? Anyone got questions?
Can you use this, Jerry?
You can,
Jerry, on
yes.
the last one, the chlorine to bleach alternative, that's gonna be required. Is there a timeline on that as well? Like the phosphorus is in 2023, so is there a required timeline on that last one?
There is not a requirement. It's been a widespread trend among treatment plants, water and sewer plants. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time, primarily for safety, of course. And we'll build a facility to hold either alum or ferric chloride for phosphorus removal. So that's a facility with tanks and a little building for pumps. I thought it made sense, since we're going to have 2 additional tanks and pumps in the same building, we can have one facility that handles all our liquid chemicals. So it seemed like a cost-effective time to do it now instead of later.
We I've been following along with the slides, and there's little delays, but could you send us this slide presentation?
Sure,
Just to be able
certainly.
to
That would be great.
look
Yeah.
carefully.
And if you have questions, email back or give me a call and we can talk.
I'm gonna take that one, because we've got a couple questions online. I'm
Jerry,
gonna move back here.
Mayor, one question from online for Jerry.
Well, and I wanted to say, because I saw, Jerry, are you on?
Yes.
One of the statements are, why not do all this work? You could save 50% of the cost and do all the work in-house. And just if you don't mind addressing that.
Sure, some
Jerry's
of this,
muted.
is that okay?
I'm afraid I'm getting an echo.
There you go.
Okay, some of this work could be done in-house, but the majority of it is work that, we don't have that sort of skill set, at the treatment plant. I've got people who are mechanics who fix pumps. I've got laboratory personnel, but I don't have anyone who's, who can pour concrete, build tanks, have excavators. That's kind of a specialty work. So generally you contract this sort of work out just because we don't do that sort of thing every day. We don't have the expertise. It's not cost effective to have that expertise in-house when you're not doing that sort of work every day. So, it'd be nice to do that in-house. For example, right now, we're cleaning a digester, as I said earlier in the meeting. That sort of expertise we do have in-house, and some of the piping work and the pump work we can do in-house in that job too. But, you kind of have to know where your wheelhouse lies and do what you can do well.
Great. Any other questions? Also, we're asked, hopefully we're talking about wetland sewage treatment. Maybe you'd like to say something there, Jerry?
I didn't catch the question.
I don't know if there is a question, but regarding, hopefully we're talking about wetland sewage treatment.
Oh, I got you. Wetland sewage treatment is a technology that has had some success. It's generally not suitable for a large city like LaPorte. The acres of wetland that would be required is very, very large. But for smaller, sometimes for subdivisions, that can be done successfully. We also have a problem with winter here in LaPorte. Those systems do not work very well in the winter. Everything kind of stops working. So there are locations where that works very well. Our situation doesn't lend us well to wetlands treatment.
Mr. Kosher has a question.
Well, we couldn't hear that.
Okay.
Anything Jerry said.
Yeah, so in the meantime, Jerry, I don't know if you can unmute and kind of switch that up, but what I was you had talked about kind of the expertise and certainly agree, right? And there's also not just the expertise, but it's the economies of scale of someone who, whether it's building the tanks or whatever they do, they can do it a lot more cost effectively than if we try to take internal manpower and then like teach someone to do these. I mean, it's the nature of the economy, right? Or economics. So, but the other part is like, I do certainly appreciate and would challenge, like anytime there are some things that can be done sort of in-house, that would be great to kind of help reduce that amount. But, with these types of projects, yeah, I certainly understand that it's very critical to have experts to do these things, especially when we're talking about these issues that, who knows, however many years ago when doing these projects where you've got the half grates set up where, I mean, basically someone is kicking the can down the road for someone else to handle the problem that wasn't addressed at the time. So, I mean, I certainly appreciate this kind of overall review of where we're at, because at some point you have to stop kicking the can down the road and we got to start solving the problems and making life better, today. So, I mean, I don't know how much we can do and how fast we can do it, but I really do want to figure out some ways to be moving forward on these projects.
We're lucky that I'm still having problems with the volume here. Can you hear me now? Okay. We're lucky that our rates are generally low, so there's some room to attack some of these big problems without having our rates get out of line with other cities. So we're kind of blessed in that respect. I'll provide some numbers and some summaries for what these projects cost and what they would do to our rates to the board here in the next 2 weeks.
Jerry, the list you gave us, I think it was approximately 7 items or so. Is that in any kind of hierarchy of what you want to do first? Like, was the first thing something top priority, or not in any kind of order?
The treatment plant work is likely to be done all together, just because it'll be economies of scale. You get one contractor out there to do all that work at one time. The sewer system projects are probably individual projects. I've got an extensive list beyond that. I kind of picked those 4 sewer system projects out of the list and said, these are here's a couple large projects that really need to be addressed. Here's a couple smaller projects that also are real problems for the adjacent residents. But I'll share my larger list with you, and we can go over it. There's no end of drainage problems, and it's kind of try to prioritize what's needed most.
Thank you.
I want to continue to reiterate $81 million worth of infrastructure work, and we have, I think, Jerry, can you mute now? Sorry. And we have to, the number and letter streets are very important because of all the flooding, Monroe Manor and the Southmore area. But really, I think you'll have, if we are able to bond and the public can support these increases, I think you'll see, not to put pressure or too much pressure on Jerry, you'll see work being done all over.
Absolutely.
So thank you, Jerry. Any unfinished business? Any other business? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Have a great day, everybody. We are adjourned.